Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the webinar on doing an externship while you're doing your LLM in the United States. Today we have with us Miki Hamstra, who is the Director of Graduate Program at Indiana University's Robert McKinney School of Law. So she will explain to you about the concept of what an externship is and how you can gain practical information and practical knowledge while you're doing your LLM in the United States. And she'll also be presenting the LLM, various LLM programs that is available at Indiana University and talk about the scholarship options and careers post LLM at the Robert McKinney School of Law. So without taking any further time of yours, I'll pass the presentation on over to her. If you can just bear with me for a second. And thank you. And at any point during the presentation, if at all you have any questions or anything, you can type it into the chat box, and we can ask Miki during that immediately as soon as you send the question, or if she's speaking about something, we can wait till the end to ask her the question. And so thank you for joining.
Hello everybody, welcome to your final day here at LLM Week. I'm thrilled to be joining you again. As Vishnu said, I am Miki Hamstra, and I'm presenting here from Indianapolis, Indiana. And today I'm going to talk to you about specifically how to take advantage of externships to gain practical legal experience. So I think there's a lot of confusion for international students when they come to study an LLM in the United States about sort of the value or the necessity of doing these practical legal experiences. In the United States, the law degree is a professional degree. So that's different than a research degree if you were getting a different master's or an undergraduate degree. What makes you different as a graduate with a professional degree is that you have skills ready to enter the marketplace. So in this case, it would be the legal profession. So you not only need to know the law on a theoretical level, but you need to know how to practice the law. So recently there have been some changes from the ABA, that's the American Bar Association, that has started requiring graduates to have practical legal experience. I'm going to talk to you about various ways that you can do that. And then I'm going to talk to you about some of the ways that my international students have done that. It's kind of the signature thing that we're known for at McKinney, Indiana University McKinney, is practical work experience for our international students. That's largely because we are the only law school in the capital city of Indianapolis, Indiana. So as you can imagine, there's lots of opportunity, over 350 placements every semester. Some of them go empty, mostly because students don't know about them. So I'm really doing my part to educate my students before they come, in particular my international students, because I know it will be difficult for you to get opportunities in other states and other cities where you're competing with a lot of other law schools. So I'm going to give you some practical advice. I'm going to break it down in different areas where you can get this type of practical experience. I'll talk about the benefits. I'll also give you some tips as you're looking around. And then at the end, I'll share a little bit about my program. Happy to take questions specifically about McKinney. I'm always happy to talk about that, of course. So in the United States, we call this type of learning experiential learning. So what that means is learning by doing. So that can be externships, simulation courses, clinics, and pro bono opportunities. There are a lot of law schools that have these type of opportunities, but it's really important as an international student that you contact the schools that you're thinking about in advance and get statistics from them about what is available for an international student. Some of these opportunities at different schools are restricted to international students. They might have the requirement that you're a first-year JD student, for example. There are some restrictions at my university also, but like I said, we are well known for this for international students, particularly LLM students. So we have developed opportunities for our students beyond the restrictions. We have actually lowered restrictions across the board because we had a lot of international students interested. In addition, those of you wanting to take a U.S. bar exam, like the New York bar exam, does require experiential learning credit. So this is very important. Wherever you go, you can learn a lot from today. So the benefits, apart from some of the other things I mentioned, is that you can apply legal skills in a real world setting. So I know all of you have been getting legal experience either in the classroom or in internships wherever you are around the world. But it's different in the U.S., of course. You'll need some time to get used to how to practice law in the common law system here in the U.S. I realize some of you are coming from a common law system, but some of you are coming from a civil law system. So there will be a big difference regardless of where you're coming from. So you get a chance to try out your legal skills in the real world setting. In addition, you build a network for post-graduation career search. So this is critical. In the United States, when you are looking for a job, it is critical that you have references that can refer you to jobs. I know a lot of international students get frustrated. They see job openings, they apply for them, and they never even get an interview. That's because in the United States, networking is key. When I'm looking for a job, I look first at the place where I'm wanting to get a job, and I see if I happen to know anyone. The benefit of being a McKinney graduate is that we have graduated over half of the attorneys in the state of Indiana. So over half of the attorneys in the state of Indiana currently practicing are McKinney graduates. So automatically, my international students have a way in to be able to email the places they're interested in working, tell them they're looking for a job. They get an interview because they are a McKinney graduate and they've done the networking. I have a lot of really great students who come to the U.S. and they focus really hard on their studies and that's all they do. Unfortunately, even if you are a top student in the United States, if you haven't partaken in any of the experiential learning opportunities and you haven't built your network, it's going to be very difficult for you to find a job. So you can start this early as a second semester student or a first semester student by doing a lot of these experiential learning opportunities. In addition, it helps you become an active member of your new community. So this is a really great thing for you. You start building your colleagues from around the world. I have friends who were LLM students of mine 10 years ago. They go to each other's weddings. They go and celebrate birthdays with their kids. They have a very close relationship with the students that they went to school with. You can expand that community by becoming friends with practicing American attorneys. So this is another great opportunity for you if you've done an externship to be able to have that opportunity to build your network with American attorneys as well. Again, this will help you in your job search, but it also will help you expand your legal network no matter where you end up. If you go back to your home country and you have a U.S. law case that you're working on or an issue, you'll have someone that you can call right away that knows you and your work, you know them and their work, and they can help you out. It's one of the great benefits of being an international student in an international program. At my university, right now we have over 40 students from over 17 or 18 different countries now. So again, we have a lot of diversity, and that allows you to really network around the world. So finally, it helps you satisfy that ABA requirement. That was the piece that I was talking about before. If you are interested in being licensed in the U.S., you will have to sit for a U.S. bar exam. Those are different in every state. They have different requirements. Most of the LLM students with international credentials tend to sit for the New York, California, or Washington, D.C. bars. And the New York bar, for example, as many of them do, have experiential learning requirements. So you have to demonstrate that you have a certain number of experiential learning hours that would qualify you to sit for the New York bar exam. So again, the bar exams want to see that you are not only a strong student, that you've taken the courses, but that you also have that practical law experience in a law firm or other such places. So first, I'm going to talk about externships. And actually, before I get to that, Vishnu, I'm just going to ask if we have any questions before I get to the different nitty-gritty components.
Yes, there was one question by Santosh. So he, I think you will be covering it at a later part, but he was asking about the potential scholarship opportunities that is there, and you know, what can a person with with a difficult financial background do in case they want to apply for the LLM program. So that I presume you would be talking about the financial aid and scholarship opportunity later on, but you can answer it right now as well.
Sure, yeah, I'll give you a short answer now and then I can go into more details later. I like to make this informal and interactive, so as you have questions, even if they're not related, I will stop occasionally to ask for questions, so feel free. At McKinney, we have excellent financial opportunities for students. The past 2 years, 100% of my international LLM students received some form of financial aid. We've actually been recognized by the International Jurist for 4 years in a row for Best Value Law School because of the aid that we give. So, first of all, our tuition is one of the lowest in the United States. Because we're the only law school in the capital city, we don't have to charge a lot of money for our students. We are a public school with amazing opportunities. A lot of people are very surprised that we have such good financial packages. So our tuition, like I said, is one of the lowest. It's $35,000 for the whole program tuition. And our financial packages range between $10,000 to $15,000 for an international student. So that brings your tuition down to about $20,000 to $25,000. So I know that's still a lot depending on where you're coming from. Many of my students work on campus as research assistants or other things in order to be able to afford their studies with us. But my students have told me time and time again that they choose McKinney for 2 very specific reasons. Number one, the experiential learning opportunities that are open to them, that they're not going to be locked out of by going to a New York or Chicago or LA, for example, where they're going to compete with a lot of people. And number 2, the affordability. So we have a very low tuition. Coupled with the generous financial aid that we give international students, we have incentive at our school to give financial packages to international students in particular. We have a lot of international faculty who support those initiatives, so that's why we're able to do that. We have a lot of Fulbright and visiting scholars who come to our school, so we are a very welcoming place for international students. In addition, Indianapolis has a very low cost of living. It is the 13th largest city in the United States, which a lot of people are very surprised to hear because many of them have not heard about Indianapolis until they've met me. But it is in the heart of the Midwest. We're about 3 hours from Chicago, but we are so much cheaper than the rest of the United States. We're called the Crossroads of America. So we have a lot of opportunities here, a lot of multinational corporations. You might know Cummins. They are headquartered in Indianapolis, so is Lilly. A lot of opportunities for our students. So there's a lot of excitement in Indianapolis without the cost or the crime. So those are the 2 main reasons people tend to choose McKinney as an international student. Like I said, feel free to keep asking questions. I'm going to break down the experiential learning opportunities a little bit so that you'll have some more information as you're looking. So the most popular choice is an externship. And sometimes students get confused between externship with an E and internship with an I. Externships are when you work for credit. That means that you get college credit, you get course credit towards your degree when you do an externship. An internship with an I is when you get paid for your work. As an international student on an F1 visa, you may be aware that you are not allowed to work off campus until after you graduate. So I'll speak a little bit about internships as well, post-graduation, but for the purposes of this slide, I'm going to talk about externships. So these are sample externships that I've listed here that relate to the opportunities that we have in Indianapolis. So for example, we have externships at the state government, at the courts. Because we are in the capital city, we have access to federal, state, and local courts. We have dedicated externships specifically for our LLM students in the Indiana Supreme Court, so that's a fabulous opportunity for students that American students are not eligible for, in fact. And then we have prosecution, public defender options, lots of corporate externships. For example, I talked about at Cummins, at Lilly, a lot of those opportunities for students to do corporate counsel type of externships. So if you're interested in business law, this is a fabulous opportunity for you. Sports law and entertainment, health law. Health law is huge in Indianapolis. We are a bio health tech hub. Human rights law, I'm going to talk specifically about some of the international opportunities that McKinney can foster for you. intellectual property law, various law firms of all different sizes, from small niche firms to large firms as well, and non-for-profit agencies of which you might be interested. So externships are a great way to get experience, but also get credit for your degree. So for example, maybe you have taken an intellectual property law class for 3 credits, then you do an externship for an additional 3 credits. So that externship counts toward your credits for your degree. At McKinney, we require 24 credits that will show up on your transcript, so your future employers will not only see your grades in the classes, but they'll see that you have partaken in some of the externship opportunities. So at McKinney, we document that on your official transcript, so it's a wonderful way also to stand out among other applicants when you are looking for jobs. Another way to get practical legal experience is by taking part in simulation courses. So a simulation course is when you are engaged in practicing legal skills in a hypothetical situation. So we have courses at McKinney where you are practicing those skills as if you were in a game. So for example, we have basic contract drafting, where LLM students are given certain cases and they design contracts based on those hypothetical situations, and they can practice those skills in the hypothetical situation under the supervision of their faculty members. Perhaps one of our most popular options in simulation courses is the public policy mediation with state government. Again, because we're the only the only law school in the capital city, we have fabulous opportunities to practice with state government. So we have an intensive public policy mediation class that meets for 1 week. You can get all of your credit for the simulation class in 1 week. It's offered in August and in January every year. Students take an intensive 1-week class before the semester begins. They work with a lot of state government officials, and at the end of the course, they get a real certificate that qualifies them to be a certified mediator in the state of Indiana. So even though the simulation courses are hypothetical situations, you do get to practice real legal skills, and many times, oftentimes, you have some kind of certification at the end that can demonstrate your knowledge and abilities. So you can see some of the other options I've listed here: interviewing and counseling, lawyering practice, litigation drafting, trial practice, criminal procedure, advocacy skills, advanced persuasive writing and oral advocacy. Lots of different opportunities for you to take advantage of in a hypothetical situation. So you don't have real clients. They are made-up clients, make-believe clients, so you can practice your common law legal skills in a low-risk situation. The clinics that we have 9 clinics here, is when you do have real clients. So we have a law firm set up in our law school. You don't even have to leave the building where the clinics operate. So clients will come to the law firm, which is the McKinney clinic, and they will meet with you as a student who will be representing them as their attorney. Because you're not yet licensed to practice, you will be supervised by a faculty member who will look over everything that you do, sign all the official paperwork, make sure that you haven't made any mistakes, so you have a lot of protection, but you get the opportunity to work with real clients. So some of the examples here that have been popular with my international students have been the immigration clinic. That's often because you bring language skills that are useful to the clinic as well. Many of you speak foreign languages that are really beneficial to our immigration law clients. In addition, the wrongful conviction clinic has been very popular in the past because that has recently had a lot of success. McKinney, IU McKinney, was featured on a TV show called 24 Hours, which featured our law school because the wrongful conviction clinic had a great success recently. They were able to release somebody from prison who had been wrongfully accused and in prison for over 18 years. So this was a huge success. We had a lot of people come and visit the school to find out about it. This type of human rights justice work is very important in our school, and you can take part in that by being part of a clinic. So you can see some of the other options here: child advocacy law clinic, civil practice, 2 different options there, criminal defense, conservation law, disability clinic, health and human rights law, and many different opportunities. I will warn you that the clinics tend to have the most requirements. So you need to be familiar in advance with the prerequisites. That's what we're called. That's what we call classes that you have to take before you can do a clinic. There are several options at McKinney that do not have requirements. For example, the Immigration Clinic and the Wrongful Conviction Clinic do not have any prerequisites. You can register for that without having any pre-existing knowledge. You will get it while you're working in the clinic. However, some of the other clinics do have requirements. Some law schools that you are considering will not allow international LLM students to partake in clinics at all because they reserve them for their JD students. So that's a very important question to ask the universities that you're looking at. If you are interested in a clinic, whether or not you will be eligible to participate as an international student. And it's not because those schools are not interested in international students, but a lot of those places are operating in cities like Chicago, New York, LA, where there are multiple law schools. So the American JD students and international JD students are already competing not only with themselves in their law school, but the 2, 3, 4, 5 other law schools in the area. So if you are interested in working with real clients in a clinic setting, I highly recommend that you check those opportunities out in advance before you accept your offer at a school so that you can make sure that you can partake in the clinic that you want. Worst case scenario is if you choose a school because they have a really great clinic and you only find out later that you are not eligible. So do your homework in advance. Make sure that you can take part in that activity. If you cannot, they may be able to offer you other opportunities. But again, this is the important homework that you need to do in advance. Finally, I'm going to talk to you about the pro bono program. So pro bono means when you work for free, when you volunteer. So for an international LLM student and an American student for that matter, this can happen at McKinney while you're still a student. So even if you're not doing a formal externship, if you want to work in a legal office for volunteer work, you want to start building your network, you want to make it sort of informal, perhaps you already know of a law firm and you have a connection there, for example. If for some reason you don't want an externship, you don't want that to pay for the 3 credits, for example, on your transcript, you can do it as a pro bono student. The benefit at McKinney is that we also document this on your transcript. So even if you don't want to use 3 hours toward your 24 credits on your transcript, you can do pro bono experience. It doesn't cost you anything. It's 0 credits, but it will be noted on your transcript that you did it. So if you're just looking for experience, you don't want to pay credits, you don't want it to count towards your program, maybe you've done some other things, but you still want to do pro bono as well, you have the opportunity to do that. So you can do pro bono anywhere. It could be in legal offices, at the State House, in courts, lots of different opportunities. I have a student doing it at a university, for example, doing legal work at a university. So wide variety of placements. What's really great about the pro bono program is after you graduate, you have the option to be on OPT. We call that optional practical training. So that is work authorization for F1 students. That allows you to work anywhere in the United States for as many hours as you want upon graduation. As I said before, F1 and J1 students, most of you will be coming on that type of visa, are going to be limited to on-campus work for 20 hours a week while you're a student, while classes are in session. You'll be able to work a little bit more on campus during the holidays. But upon graduation, you have lots of opportunity because you can apply for optional practical training. So you can work anywhere in the United States. That authorization is automatic. You apply for it, but you don't have to have a job offer. However, there is a stipulation that while you're on OPT, you have to be actively looking for a job. If you accrue a certain number of unemployment days, maybe you're working really hard, you're looking in New York for a job, but you just can't find anything. If you accrue a certain number of unemployment days, you will lose your status on OPT. So one way for you to not accrue unemployment is by doing pro bono. So even though you're not getting paid for this opportunity, it is a way for you to maintain your OPT status while you're looking for work. So this is perhaps the most popular reason my students do pro bono work when they're a graduate, is because they're looking for jobs, they're networking, it's a great way to meet people, and they maintain their status. So they preserve that year of OPT status so they can work anywhere in the United States. Like I said, at McKinney, we have recognition from the law school on your transcript and the legal community. You actually get certificates. We have different award levels. So students who do over 100 hours of pro bono while a student will get a gold certificate. There's a very nice ceremony that we have. The legal community will come and support you. So you get a lot of different recognition for this. Again, as a student in a professional law school doing a professional legal degree in the United States, you need to look for ways to stand out if you're going to be looking for work upon graduation. So you do that by getting experience, by building your resume, by building your transcript. So at McKinney, we see those missions as complementary. So we have transcript notations for both the pro bono and the experiential learning opportunities that you take part in. So before I talk about specifically some examples here of students who have done amazing things with experiential learning, I thought I would ask Vishnu again if we have any questions from the floor.
Yes, there are a few questions. First one is a request. It is by an attendee whether you can reduce the pace in which you're speaking, because it's a little bit harder for them to understand. So the other thing is the other question is like from Rajesh, who has asked like what would be the total cost including the tuition and a living expense that a person is expected to be paying?
Sure, great. I'll start with the second question first. And then the first I will try to slow down. I'm very sorry. I am known for speaking quickly. So hopefully you can access this presentation afterward and listen to it again if you like, but I will try my best to slow down. There's just so much information I want to share with you that I have a problem in speaking quickly. So that is a very good question. For an F1 visa, you will have to document that you will be able to afford the tuition, fees, and living expenses. So that total cost at McKinney that you have to be able to document to be able to come on an F1 visa is about $50,000. So that's $35,000 for the tuition and fees, and then that's $15,000 for living costs. So as you can see, we are a very affordable program. That $50,000 is often the amount of tuition alone at other schools. So you should always ask what the F1 financial total cost is going to be to you. Now, of course, if you are given a scholarship, that amount is reduced. So if you get a $15,000 scholarship, total cost $50,000 minus 15 would be $35,000. So for your F1 visa, you only have to document that you can afford $35,000. So when you get your I-20, any financial package that the university has given you will be deducted from that total cost. So again, be sure when you're looking at different schools that you not only look at the total cost of tuition, but that you also look at the total cost of living expenses, everything combined, what is going to be required on your F1 visa. Okay? So I'm going to talk to you specifically about a couple students. Peruta.
Miki, if I can just interrupt for one more question which just came in. That's like, what is the process for the scholarship and this fee waiver that you had just mentioned? So how does a person get that? Is there a separate application process, or can you just explain a little bit further about that?
Sure, excellent question. At IU McKinney, all student applicants are reviewed for financial support. We have need-based and merit-based financial packages, so it's included in our standard application, so you can answer that question on the application and everybody will be considered. At McKinney, we actually give you your admission offer and your financial package decision at the same time, even if you are a conditionally admitted student. So many of you might still be working on your English in your home country. Perhaps you have not yet taken the TOEFL, or you haven't gotten the score that you've wanted yet. You can go ahead and apply at McKinney with everything but your TOEFL score, and you will be considered for admission and your financial package at the same time. So that's really beneficial to students who are doing some advanced planning. So for example, I have students who apply before they have their English, which at McKinney we require an 81 minimum on the TOEFL and a 6.5 on the IELTS. They send everything in advance, they get their offer, they get their financial package, and then they take the TOEFL exam. Then they know what they need to score at the various schools that they're looking for. So everybody will be considered for merit and needs-based. Just make sure you answer that question on our standard application. There's a little question there where you can explain yourself. But like I said, my admissions committee is filled with international scholars and faculty members who are very interested in supporting our international students. So the last 2 years, 100% of my international students had some form of financial aid. And that average, again, was between $10,000 and $15,000. So it's a fabulous opportunity for you to get a world-class education at a fraction of the cost. All right. So
I hope that answers your question, Mohammed. Thank you, Miki. You can continue. If there is any question, then we'll ask in the next the next time you know after you're done with your slides.
Sure, and I want to apologize in advance. I had 2 students planning to join me, but this is the final exam period at IU McKinney. So I'm not sure if my other student has been able to join yet, but I'll talk about her in just a second as well. If she is on the line, I'll invite her to speak a little bit. But the first student, who I know is not here, her name is Paruta Kathari. She's from India. She joined our JD program. So I wanted to give you an example of a JD student as well, as many of you might be considering the LLM to JD option. So at McKinney, you can start as an LLM student, and then you can transfer your credits after you graduate into the JD program to expedite the JD program in a 2-year window instead of 3. So Paruta is a 3L, so that means she's in her 3rd year of law school at McKinney. She is an outstanding student leader. She is the co-founder and former president of the Student Immigration Law Society. She did some experiential learning opportunities in the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, as well as the Indiana Legal Services Center, the Indiana Attorney General's Office, and she has served as a McKinney Research Assistant, as well as recently nominated and accepted as the Cohen and Millad Fellow. So Cohen and Millad is a law firm in Indianapolis that has fellowships for our students, and she was the recipient this year, so she's been working with them. As you can see, her resume is already almost too long for the slide that I've put on here today. So as you can see, at McKinney, you have multiple opportunities to build this resume. As a 3L student, she is entering the marketplace with an outstanding edge, because she has built so many networking opportunities at these different places, has practiced legal skills. She is going to be extremely successful in her career search. Swati is another student from India, and she is an LLM student. I'm going to introduce her, and then Vishnu, if she's on, I'll pass the mic to her. But we had, again, some issues with final exams and winter weather here in Indianapolis. So I will present her section if she's not available. She is the president of the United Nations Human Rights Reporting Organization, so that's a very important organization at our school. The international students in particular are very interested in participating in this, in our human rights law track, but you don't have to be a human rights law student to participate. They prepare briefs for the United Nations human rights reporting. It's very important work that law students do all over the world, but at McKinney it's in particular a very active and popular choice. She is also the vice president of the Amnesty International Law Student Chapter. That was a really great initiative that she started at our school. We've had Amnesty in the past, but as students graduate, if they're not interested in it, maybe it's not as active, she brought it back to our school. McKinney has a conference grant that students can apply for. So Swati was a recipient of that, and that funded her to be able to go to the Amnesty International Conference in Texas last year, which was a great way for her to build her skills and network. In fact, because of that conference that she went to and her involvement in Amnesty, she was offered a summer externship opportunity in New York at the Amnesty International headquarters. So she participated in that in New York over the summer. She's also been involved in the Health and Human Rights Law Clinic, and she did the public policy mediation class. So she's a certified mediator here in the state of Indiana. So Vishnu, I'm not sure if Swati was able to join us virtually. Are you able to see her on the line?
No, I don't see her. I don't see her as a attendee, or I do not see her in the panelist as well. So I do not see her here.
Okay, no problem. If she's able to join later, just interrupt me and I'll have her speak directly. I know a lot of students like to talk to them, but I have email addresses for many of my students who are always happy to talk to you. So anybody who is interested after this presentation, you can email me and I will connect you directly with these students. They share their experiences best. But what I can do is provide sort of an overview of some of the more popular options here at McKinney that my international students have done. You'll notice that every single student in this presentation is an international student. Again, that is what I want to share with you, is that McKinney is a very welcoming place for international students to get your degree, to build your network, and to have career success. So this is Fernanda Birol D. She is actually a graduate from our program. She's from Brazil, and she did an externship in the Eli Lilly company. That is a very large pharmaceutical company headquartered here in Indianapolis. Fernanda's picture is actually taken inside of our law school, so you can kind of see the flags in the background. We have a flag display in the atrium that represents students from many different countries. We have so many across all four programs now that we have here at the law school that we have run out of space. But she's here pictured in our law school, and she says this about her externship. The externship with Lilly was a very important learning experience for me, as I could witness real-life application of the principles I was learning in law school. Additionally, it also gave me an insider's view of how it is to work in corporate America. Fernanda not only did the Eli Lilly corporate externship, but she also did the Indiana Supreme Court externship. When she graduated with these two experiences on her resume and the network that she had built, she got 2 job offers right away in Indianapolis. So she ended up working, she got a job offer from Eli Lilly as well as Cummins. She ended up taking the offer from Cummins, and she is happily working in the United States here right in Indianapolis the past 2 years, and she's always happy to talk with students too about how to network post-graduation. Sue Toole is one of our students from Mongolia. She did an externship, actually pro bono opportunity, in the Indiana Supreme Court. So you can see she is pictured here at our awards ceremony. She's getting her certificate in that picture. She says, it was an invaluable experience and a great chance for me to do pro bono in the Indiana Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is different from other courts. It's by its discretion whether to take the case or not. I worked on transfer petitions asking the court to take the case. Even to decide whether to take it or not, the court does so much effort going through the documents of the case, doing research, and then decides to grant or deny a transfer. This procedure made me understand the concept of discretion, which is not about taking cases the court likes. So very interesting experience for those of you who have court experience in your home country. Maybe you're going to be a judge. We have several judges from different countries who come to do our program, so they really appreciate that comparative opportunity. Alina Fagundes is actually a judge from Brazil, and she was interested in human rights. So she took part in the Guantanamo Bay Cuba opportunity that we have. McKinney has special status down in Cuba, in Guantanamo Bay. We are actually the only law school. We have exclusive opportunity to be an observer in the trials. So as you may know, there's a lot of work going on right now for the 9/11 trials about the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. So Lina got to go do that. She says, besides the unique chance to face and study many human rights issues in an extremely remote place, I flew in a Jetstream 31, 15 seats from Andrews Air Force Base to Guantanamo Bay. I was housed in a military facility that you can see down there in the bottom. I spent 5 days with other NGO observers. We had meetings with prosecution and defense teams. I stayed a few steps away from Al-Qaeda members and victims' family members. What else could be more amazing? So our law school students are doing some really amazing work protecting human rights of people who are housed down there in Guantanamo Bay. So it's a wonderful opportunity for you to get, again, a unique experience that is only offered to law school students from our university. That is led by Professor George Edwards, who is a graduate from Harvard School of Law. So you can imagine why that is such a special opportunity for us. Suraj Baragawi was one of my students from Saudi Arabia, and he did an externship at the National Collegiate Athletic Association, the NCAA, which is headquartered in Indianapolis. So the picture just above him on my slide, that is the headquarters of the NCAA. That is steps away from the law school, so he had a very beautiful place to be working as well. He says, "I'm grateful to have this experience with the NCAA because it gave me the opportunity to see how a nonprofit organization performs from the administrative law perspective. As a Saudi law student, my experience with the NCAA gave me a chance to make a comparison between two sports organizations. The NCAA is a national nonprofit organization and the Saudi Arabian General Commission of Sport as a governmental institute. However, the most important aspect with the NCAA externship is having the exposure to sports law in the U.S., which is a new and interesting experience for me." I just got recent news from him. He just graduated that he has accepted a job offer as well. So he actually accepted a job offer back in Saudi Arabia, but he was very pleased that it took that it was such a fast process for him because he had built his resume while being a student here. Osama bin Mahmoud is another student from Saudi Arabia. He did an externship at the Court of Appeals. You see he is getting a special award here for having a certain number of hours, over 100 at his particular place. He says, "My experience of working at the Court of Appeals has helped me to explore more about the judicial procedure of the United States and has motivated me to think of ways to improve the legal system of my country. The experience I had with the law clerk of Judge Baker helped me to improve my knowledge about drafting judicial opinions. I'm so grateful that I was able to practice and improve my legal skills, which will help me very much in the future." So again, these court opportunities are open for our students because we are housed in the capital city where there's all the houses of the judiciary. So before I move into general tips of how you can look for these types of opportunities, I'm going to pause here one more time, Vishnu, to see if we have some questions that have come up.
Yes, there were a few questions. One is with regard to the procedure for applying. So basically, what they mean is that does it need to be applied right now, or is there a deadline, or how does the application process work? I think you've touched upon it earlier, but they did ask this question.
Sure. So I'm going to answer two questions because I'm not sure if you mean applying to the law school or applying to the externship. So I'm going to answer both. If you're talking about applying to the law school, at IU McKinney, we have rolling applications. That means we do not have an application deadline. You can apply at any time to our law school. We have both a start date in August, early August, and we have a start date in January, early January. So you can apply for either session at any time in the year. However, if you would like to be considered for some of the larger scholarships, I recommend that you apply by October 1st if you're interested in fall, or April 1st if you are interested in, April 1st if you are interested in the fall, and October 1st if you are interested in the spring. It's at that time that most of our large scholarships have already been awarded. So like I said, if you are planning ahead, you want to submit your application right away, even if you don't have the English, that's actually a really good idea because you can get, you will be considered for some of our larger scholarships. So those of you joining us for today who are interested in joining our program in fall 2018, I should have your application by April 1st if you'd like to be considered for some of the larger scholarships. The externship and experiential learning opportunity applications are quite different depending on what you want to do. Externships have a formal application procedure, so you will be notified of those opportunities when you are here as a student. We actually have sessions during orientation for our students to understand how to fill out the application. We help you along the way. So you will actually apply once you're here on the ground in Indianapolis for those opportunities. The clinic and simulation classes, those are simply registered opportunities. So if you're interested in it and you qualify, you simply register like you're going to take a class. So as long as you submit your registration materials in a timely fashion and you don't turn them in late, chances are there will be plenty of space for you in the classes. The only time students are barred from those experiences are when the classes fill up. At my university, at McKinney, our LLM students actually get to register before anybody else at the law school. Because you are only there for 1 year, we prioritize your registration. So as long as you get me your requests in advance, you will get those opportunities if you qualify for them. So students who don't get them are those who wait too long to give me their registrations, and then they're put on a wait list. Sometimes they're able to take part in the opportunities anyway, but again, it's best to get it in before the rest of the law school registers. Pro bono opportunities are available at any time. All you need to do is coordinate with our Office of Professional Development to identify where you'd like to do the work and then to get everything on the schedule for you. That is very flexible based on your needs. At McKinney, we have a day program and an evening program, which allows students to take part in a lot of these opportunities. So if you're doing an externship during the day and some pro bono work at a law firm, you're going to go to the courts later, then you can take classes in the evening. So in other words, we have a lot of flexibility to allow for you to do everything. I think, in fact, a lot of McKinney students come to us and they get overwhelmed by the amount of opportunities there are. So we have advisors in the LLM program office to help you decide which ones are most important to you. We also allow students to extend their program if they want to do multiple opportunities. The only rule at our school is that you have to graduate within 3 years. At McKinney, it's a 24-credit program that is doable in 1 year if you like, but a lot of students want to take part in multiple externship opportunities and multiple clinics and multiple simulation courses. They want to maximize what they can do here, so they often choose to extend their program. So like I said, you can extend your program for up to 3 years. As an LLM student on an F1 visa, you will be required to take a minimum of 8 credits each semester. So there are some regulations that we have to abide by, but as long as the advisors know what you want to do when you come in, that is very possible. So now I'm going to talk about tips as you're looking for these experiential learning opportunities. So
Miki, there are a few more questions.
Sure.
Will you be able to answer that? So
Yeah.
one is by one question which is just asked is about the TOEFL and the IELTS, and which is a question which many people would be having on their mind as well. Is that a lot of instruction has been done if their undergraduate study has been done in the English language, do they still have to take the TOEFL and IELTS?
So we have a list of countries that qualify for a TOEFL or TOEFL or IELTS waiver. So I encourage the students to email me directly, even if they are not a student in one of those countries, but their degree otherwise qualifies. It's a case-by-case situation, so students can email me to find out. So again, I highly encourage you to submit everything but your language scores to see if you qualify for one of the waivers before you spend the money on the exam. I want to mention that there is a third way to satisfy the English requirement, and that is by coming to the U.S. to study English early. So I have a lot of students who come a couple months in advance to study English at one of our qualified language schools. So we have 2 in Indianapolis. One is the Program for Intensive English. It's called the PI on our campus. And the other one is called ELS Language Center. So ELS Language Center, we have one in Indianapolis, but they are also all over the United States. So if you have family you want to visit in a certain city, for example, some of my students go and do 4 months in Florida before they come to do English in Indianapolis or join our program. What's really nice about studying English in Indianapolis in advance as a conditional student is you will be eligible for our LLM Pathways program. So this is a new program that we piloted last year in which students who are studying English in Indianapolis who have not yet joined the law school can be part of the pre-LLM Pathway program. That is a free opportunity for you. You do not have to pay anything to take part in this opportunity. You will continue studying your English classes, but we open up a law school class just for you, where the LLM students who are conditionally admitted studying English in the United States, in Indianapolis, will come to the law school for an early evening class that's free to you. So you get the opportunity to take a free law school class, try it out, learn what law school will feel like without getting a grade, without having to pay for it. You get to meet a lot of the faculty. You get to meet the other students. You'll be invited to all of the law school functions that we have. So it is a fabulous opportunity. If you want to come a couple months in advance to study English and forget about the TOEFL and IELTS and just get it done here and join your community right away, that is a wonderful opportunity for you as well. So again, I highly encourage any of you to apply for our program without the English score. Get a conditional admission if you're otherwise eligible. You'll get your financial package decision at the same time, and I will be, inviting you to these various opportunities for you. So we do not charge an application fee at McKinney. It is a no-risk application. So if you are applying to multiple schools and you're using the Law School Admissions Council, the LSAC, some schools require that you use that database, that you submit all of your documents that way. You can certainly apply to IE McKinney through LSAC if you want, but we also know that application fees can be very costly if you're looking at multiple schools. So we have a no-fee application process for students who want to apply directly to McKinney. You can send me your application directly. There's a link on my website that tells you what you need to send. But that way you don't have to pay for the application. You get to have everything, your admission, your financial decision, your notification, whether you have a waiver or not, everything up in advance for zero amount of money. So again, I highly encourage any of you who are interested in experiential learning, a very affordable program and a friendly place for international students to put in an application at IE McKinney. I welcome that. I will be reviewing your applications. I am your biggest advocate. I'm the one who sits with the admissions committee and makes recommendations and teaches the faculty about what you've done. So I am your admission partner through this whole process. Anytime you have questions, you can email me. I have looked at personal statements in the past and made recommendations to students to revise them before I send them to the admissions committee. So we are very dedicated to having international students. I know it's a totally different process than you've done before, so I stand ready to help any student who would like to apply to IE McKinney.
There are also another question. One is about when do you get an information it's when do you get the confirmation, sorry, not information, when do you get the confirmation with regard to the portion of scholarship that has been awarded? So what essentially he's asking is that as soon as application is done, do you get the notification about the scholarship as well, or is the scholarship being notified later on?
You will get it at the same time, and as long as you submit a complete application, in other words, we're not waiting for some official documents or something like that, then usually the turnaround time is about 2 weeks. So if you submit your application later today, you can expect to have a decision by the end of the year. Of course, there are certain busy times of the season. So right now we're in final exam period, so the faculty members who sit on my admissions committee will be grading final exams. All of those things, need to be taken into consideration, but we try to get decisions back to students within 2 weeks of complete application.
Thank you, Miki. And there's one more question. This is from Nupur. She joined the session a little bit earlier, so you might have already answered this, but then her question is that are the pro bono and externship opportunities done anytime, or it can be done only at a specified time during the course of the year? And what is the flexibility with the classes during that time if when a person is doing an externship?
Sure, great question. The pro bono opportunity is available anytime, day, night, first semester, second semester, summer semester. That has tremendous flexibility. So you would meet with the Office of Professional Development to set those things up. We actually have a dedicated staff member in the Office of Professional Development that works directly with our international students. She reads resumes, helps you put your application together, so she's fabulous. For the externships, those are for credit. So they follow the same schedule that any kind of class registration would take place. So when you are registering for your fall classes, we register for fall classes in March. So that's when we start anyway. Students can start registering in March. So for my students who come for their first semester, that's not, you don't usually do an externship in your first semester because you haven't obviously taken any classes yet. So what most of my students do is externship in the second or third semester if they choose to extend their time. In that case, you will begin applying for externships about the middle of the semester. So around October, you will apply for externships that will be starting in January. Externships are also flexible. Once you have lined them up, you will work with your supervisor on site. So let's say you're doing an externship at the courts. You will work with your judge supervisor to schedule around your classes. Externships are made available with the understanding that students are still going to school. So you don't have to take evening classes to be able to do externships, but we do offer evening classes. So if you want to work during the day and do externships and then study at night in your courses, you are able to do that because at McKinney we have a day and evening program and a summer program. So that is another good question to ask law schools that you're applying at. Not all law schools have evening programs or summer programs. We have all of them because we are a professional campus. We are the only law school in the capital city, so we attract a lot of people who are business executives, for example, coming back to get a law degree. They continue to work full-time during the day. They come to school at night. So we have a lot of different flexibility for students who want to take part in these opportunities.
Thank you, Miki. I hope that answers your question. Right now we don't have any further questions, but if you do have any questions, you can just type it in and then we can ask Miki about that.
Great. So a couple quick tips here. As you're looking for placements, again, number one, research the placement offerings and statistics at the law schools that you are looking at. You need to do this homework now. Don't wait until you have your different offers because that's going to change which school you want to go to. So you want to find out which schools have opportunities for you, and specifically you as an international student on an F1 visa. Make sure you have all the information. Make sure you get names of students who have done opportunities before. Sometimes law schools will say, oh yes, we have these opportunities, international students can apply. But if you can't talk to a current international student who is doing one of those opportunities, that is a bad sign. You want to be able to talk directly to students like you who have done these opportunities. Again, my students are happy to talk to you. I will put you in contact with anybody who's done an experience that you're looking for so that you can have that information before you even apply to my school. I'm happy to give that to you. Attend externship fairs and informational sessions. There will be many throughout the year that you can take part in. Beware of the prerequisites. I talked about that a little bit. Those are courses that you're going to need to take in advance to be able to do some of those opportunities. And then be flexible. A lot of my students have one particular externship that they really want to do. It is a matching process though. So if the firm that you really want to work at doesn't have enough work for you to do that particular semester, they will not request an extern. However, if you have put 3 or 4 different opportunities on your application, you can apply for all of them in one application, which makes it easy. Then you can be considered for a lot of different opportunities. So maybe you don't get your first placement, but you get your second placement. So I tell people to keep their mind open. There can be wonderful, fabulous networking opportunities at a place that might not have been your first choice. So the rest of this is just kind of general application tips. Be sure to proofread your application. Take a class from a supervising faculty member. That's a great way to get to know them. And then any future questions you have, you can just write me here, mhamstra@iupui.edu. I'm happy to answer application questions as well. I have regular virtual chats every month that you can sign up for to ask me more general questions about our program or something specific about you. You can join with a cohort of people or you can sign up for a private virtual chat. That's no cost to you. It's a free opportunity, so I encourage you to email me and I will put you in contact with the various different times that we can connect, and that would be great. I'm happy to entertain any final questions.
So there is one more question again from Nupur. She asks, this seems like a question which is which could be there in many people's mind as well. And she asked that since an LLM candidate has some interest in gaining practical experience in the US and staying back to get some kind of law firm experience or an in-house counsel experience, Should that be mentioned in the statement of purpose while making an application, or will mentioning that kind of be detrimental to their application?
So that is a really great question. At IU McKinney, I strongly encourage you to put that in your personal statement, because that allows me to connect you with that opportunity before you even get here. I can tell the faculty member, oh, many times I'll show your application to the faculty member and say, oh, there's this fabulous student, you know, coming from whatever country you're coming from, and they're really interested in doing this experience with you. What do you think? And it's an opportunity to do that networking in advance. If you're applying to a school that does not have those opportunities available to an international student, that could be detrimental, I suppose, but it's also detrimental to you, because if you really want to do that opportunity and they don't have it, and you never disclosed that you wanted to do it, then it's kind of, unfortunately, your own fault. If the law school admitted you not knowing that you wanted to do certain opportunities, then they, you know, didn't know to prepare for that. So I suggest that you talk about it. If you're not sure, again, ask the program director at the schools that you're applying to. But if you're not sure, you can talk in more general terms. You can say, I'm very open to partaking in externship or pro bono opportunities. I would love to know more about these experiences as I build my professional resume as well as my transcript at your school. So there are ways for you to say it more generally, but at McKinney, I encourage you to talk specifically about what you're interested in, because at my school, we make those connections right away.
I hope that answers your question. Yeah, and she's very happy with the answer. She says thank you. So that was quite helpful. So we also have one more question, which is better for entering the LLM class? Is it the fall or the spring when the candidate should be in the US?
Sure. In my personal opinion, I usually encourage students to enter in the fall. And the reason for that is, number one, the weather's better. In Indianapolis, it's wintertime in January, so you don't get to explore the city as much, but we'll help you do that if you come in January. But the other real benefit for starting in the fall is that is when the JD students also start. So the whole law school is gearing up for the new year. There's lots of opportunities to engage. There's service opportunities for you to meet new JD students. There's just a lot of good energy in the fall for starting students. That being said, if you start in January, we have a lot of fun too. Like I said, it's just mostly indoors instead of outdoors. But you can totally start at any time, but I recommend the fall. We also, at McKinney for the LLM program, when you start in the fall, you can be a part of an oral argument competition. At the end of orientation, as long as you come to the 2-week, it's a free orientation that we provide for you. It's called Legal Skills Seminar. If you attend the whole Legal Skills Seminar, at the end of the week, second week, we have an oral argument competition. The winner of that competition gets an additional $1,000 scholarship. So it's a really great opportunity to practice your skills, get to know other starting students, and have the opportunity to win yet another scholarship in the fall. Unfortunately, we just don't have time to do that same competition in the spring. You don't have as many days with us. So in the fall is what I would recommend. You start with the other students, and you also have the opportunity for the additional fee remission if you like to do oral arguments.
There's also one more question with regard to the bar examination. Ideally, like, does that, do you offer any help with the bar examination as well?
Yes, so this is similar to most law schools. There are actually private companies that will offer you courses. Those courses can sometimes cost $3,000 or more, so it's very expensive if you go with one of the private companies. They will be available at the law school, of course, and they are very good. I would say if you're spending the money, it's a good use of your money. However, at McKinney, we have also developed courses for bar prep inside of our program. We are piloting the first class of this kind for our international students this fall, actually, and it's geared toward the New York bar exam because most of our students tend to take the New York bar exam. It will be an overview of various classes, but an overview of various legal issues. It's called a Primer of American Legal Education, but it has a significant bar prep portion. We don't make it completely a bar prep class because you will not be able to take that class and count it toward your bar exam requirements, which is kind of interesting. So it's not allowed to count toward the bar prep, like if you're taking the New York bar exam, you can't count bar classes toward the course requirements. So one way that we have kind of made this a hybrid option is we've developed a class that has significant bar prep inside of it, but it's not solely bar prep, so that you can not only get bar prep, but you can also get coursework to count toward the bar exam.
I hope that answers your question, Rajesh. So that's it with the question. Miki, would you like to add anything more?
That's it. I'm so glad that you guys have asked wonderful questions. I continue to be impressed with the students that apply at my school. I highly encourage you all to reach out to me, send me your questions before you apply if you want, or with your application. Like I said, I am your biggest advocate. I want what's best for you, so I will help you put together the type of package that will be competitive for scholarships. I'll connect you with the students and opportunities when you're here, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to share about this with you today. And if you would like to email me any other questions or join a virtual chat, I have one coming up in January as well as one in February, or we can schedule a private chat. I'm happy to do that. So thank you so much for attending, and feel free to email me.
Thank you, Miki. And a few of the attendees also send their thanks for your patience and for being very helpful as well. Thanks a lot for doing this. And if there is, and to all the attendees, if you do have any further queries, you can directly contact Miki. So thank you for joining us today. And with that, we'll conclude the webinar.
Excellent. Have a great weekend.